Medieval India, chapter number 12, page number 138. The Afghans. Although the Afghans had been defeated, they had not been reconciled to the Mughal rule. Eastern Uttar Pradesh was still under the dominion of the Afghan chiefs who had tendered their allegiance to Babur, but were prepared to throw it off any time. The Afghan Sardars were being backed by Nusrat Shah, the ruler of Bengal, who had married a daughter of Ibrahim Lodi. Earlier, the Afghans had ousted the Mughal officials in eastern Uttar Pradesh and reached up to Kannauj, but the greatest weakness was the lack of a popular leader. After some time, Muhammad Lodi, a brother of Ibrahim Lodi, who had fought against Babur at Khanwa, reached Bihar. The Afghans hailed him as their ruler and mustered strength under him. This was a threat which Babur could not ignore. Hence, at the beginning of 1529, he left Agra for the east. Crossing the Ganga near Banaras, he faced the combined forces of the Afghans and Nusrat Shah of Bengal at the crossing of river Ghagra. Although Babur crossed the river and compelled the Bengal and Afghan armies to retreat, he could not win a decisive victory. Ill and anxious about the situation in Central Asia, Babur decided to patch up an agreement with the Afghans. He put forward a vague claim for suzerainty over Bihar, but left most of it in the hands of Afghan chiefs. He then returned to Agra. Shortly afterwards, Babur died near Lahore while on his way to Kabul. Significance of Babur's advent into India. Babur's advent into India was significant from many points of view. For the first time since the downfall of the Kushan Empire, Kabul and Kandahar became integral parts of an empire comprising North India. Since these areas had always acted as staging places for an invasion of India, by dominating them, Babur and his successors were able to give to India security from external invasions for almost 200 years. Economically also, the control of Kabul and Kandahar strengthened India's foreign trade, since these two towns were the starting points for the caravans made for China in the east and the Mediterranean seaports in the west. Thus, India could take a greater share in the great trans-Asian trade. In North India, Babur smashed the power of the Lodis and the Rajput confederacy led by Rana Sanga. Thereby, he destroyed the balance of power obtaining in the area. This was a long step towards establishment of an all-India empire. However, a number of conditions had still to be fulfilled before this could be achieved. Babur introduced a new mode of warfare in India. Although gunpowder was known in India earlier, Babur showed what a skilled combination of artillery and cavalry could achieve. His victories led to a rapid popularization of gunpowder and artillery in India. Since artillery was expensive, it favored those rulers who had large resources at their command. Hence, the era of large kingdoms began. By his new military methods as well as by his personal conduct, Babur re-established the prestige of the crown, which had been eroded since the death of Firoz Tughlaq. Although Sikandar Lodi and Ibrahim Lodi had tried to re-establish the prestige of the crown, Afghan ideas of tribal independence and equality had resulted in only a partial success. Babur had a prestige of being a descendant of two of the most famous warriors of Asia, Changiz and Temur. None of his nobles could therefore claim a status of equality with him or aspire to his throne. The challenge to his position, if any, could come only from a Timurid prince. Babur endeared himself to his begs by his personal qualities. He was always prepared to share the hardships with his soldiers. Once, at the height of winter, Babur was returning to Kabul The snow was so deep that the horses would sink into it, and the parties of soldiers had to trample the snow so that horses could pass. Without hesitation, Babur joined the back-breaking task. Following Babur's example, his Begs also joined in the tasks. Babur was fond of wine and good company and was a good and merry companion. At the same time, he was a stern disciplinarian and a hard taskmaster. He took good care of his Begs and was prepared to excuse many of their faults as long as they were not disloyal. He was prepared to adopt the same attitude towards his Afghan and Indian nobles. However, he did have a streak of cruelty, probably inherited from his ancestors, for he made towers of skulls from the heads of his opponents on a number of occasions. These and on other instances of personal cruelty have to be seen in the context of the harsh time in which Babur lived. An orthodox Sunni, Babur was not bigoted or led by religious divines. At a time when there was bitter sectarian feud between the Shias and the Sunnis in Iran and Turan, his court was free from theological and sectarian conflicts. He declared the battle against Sangha a jihad and assumed the title of Ghazi after the victory. But the reasons were clearly political. Though his reign was a period of war, only a few instances can be found of destruction of temples. Babur was deeply learned in Persian and Arabic and is regarded as one of the two most famous writers in the Turkish language, which was his mother tongue. As a prose writer, he had no equal, and his famous memoirs, the Tuzak-i-Baburi, is considered one of the classics of the world literature. His other works include Masnavi and the Turkish translation of a well-known Sufi work. He was in touch with the famous poets and artists of the time and describes their works in his memoirs. He was a keen naturalist and has described the flora and fauna of India in a considerable detail. He laid out a number of formal gardens with running water theory, thereby establishing a tradition. Babur introduced a new concept of the state which was to be based on the strength and prestige of the crown, absence of religion and sectarian bigotry, and careful fostering of culture and the fine arts. He thus provided a precedent and a direction for his successors. Thank you everyone for tuning in. In the next part, we'll start with Himayu on page number 140. Do stay tuned and keep subscribing to the channel for more videos like this and keep supporting us. As your exams are nearing, we would be making more such videos to help you out in your progress, and all the best for exams. Do share and subscribe the channel and keep supporting us. Thank you everyone.